Hello everyone and welcome to the Chef's Table series. My name is Carol O'Connor, co-host of this educational cooking show. Today we are featuring Chef Michael Hincman of Putterham Grille, located in Chestnut Hill. He and my co-host Joe Murphy will be making 3 dishes. They'll start off with the Mediterranean Pita, tomato bisque, and pan-seared scallops served over tiger shrimp risotto. Cannot wait to taste that. And later on we'll have a wine pairing, and I will be visiting Putterham Grille to talk to Michael more about his signature dishes. So let's bring Joe and Michael over to learn how to make the 3 dishes.
Hi, I'm Chef Joe Murphy, co-host of the Chef's Table series. This show is produced by the Chef's Table Foundation, which was created to produce the show, but our ultimate objective is to support U.S. homeless veterans and underprivileged homeless young adults with at least a high school or GED equivalency. And we're very, very pleased today to have a wonderful restaurant from Brookline. We try to shoot at least one restaurant in each town that we air the show in. So I'm sure that cycle's gonna be close to a year and 3 months because we're up to 58 towns and cities weekly now. But having said that, tonight it's about the Putterham Grille. We have a wonderful chef, and his name is Chef Michael Hincman.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you for coming, Michael.
Thank you for having me, Joe.
Yeah, Chef has put together an extraordinary menu, and it's based on Middle Eastern cuisine.
Yes, Mediterranean of sorts.
Oh,
A
Mediterranean
restaurant
right.
with a concentration in Greek cuisine in particular.
Excellent.
But we do
yeah.
everything, a little bit of everything, Joe.
Yeah, that's great. Now, we will be doing, the interview at the restaurant as well, so Carol, will show your interior and do all of that, and she has other questions. But what I'm going to do is just keep in mind that this show is designed to be instructional. So Chef will be giving you some great tips, so pay attention, and I'll try to let you know when I think if he does give you a great tip, which I expect, that you should take note, all right? Now, mise en place. Every show we talk about mise en place. And mise en place is a French term. It means everything in its place. So that when you start your cooking, you want to have all your ingredients laid out so that you're not running around at a critical moment and then say, oh my God, I forgot the allspice, I forgot the cinnamon, or whatever it is you may have left out. And it also eliminates not having a key ingredient, because it's there in front of you. So mise en place. All right, Chef, why don't we talk about your mise en place? What do you have there? This is your first dish, correct?
Yes, sir. This
Okay.
is the first dish, Joe.
All right.
Well, here we have, it's a homemade pita bread. It's a Greek-style grilled pita bread, which I've made myself. However, if you like any store-bought flatbread, will do. If you have a char grill available at home, you can just mark it on the grill for the effect that it creates a nice flavor as well. What I've done here is I've toasted it in the oven at 350 degrees for about 5 or 6 minutes.
Right.
It's slightly crisp, but it's not brittle. You don't want to overcook your pita bread because that's going to make it a little bit unpleasant,
Right.
For the consumer.
Sure.
Now, on top of this pita is going to go what I call a chickpea cucumber puree. And the first part is strained Greek yogurt with shredded English cucumber, a little bit of fresh lemon juice, salt and pepper, and extra virgin olive oil.
Wow.
Alongside, we have a chickpea puree as well, which is pureed chickpeas. Once again, extra virgin Greek olive oil, a little bit of fresh lemon juice, salt and pepper.
Right.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to combine these two ingredients to
I'm
make the
gonna tell
chickpea
you,
cucumber puree.
The aromas just from this, this dish is just fabulous. I'm loving the smell.
Well, thank you very much, Joe. I tell you, that's what we're all about at the Putterham Grill. We use nothing but the highest quality ingredients. We keep everything tremendously fresh. and we're not afraid to get creative either. So
Yeah.
you never know what you're going to encounter when you walk through the door.
Right, that's great. So are you using a lot of sustainable products?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. Yes, sir.
And you source locally, particularly in season for produce?
I utilize local purveyors whenever possible.
Yeah, and that's really, to me, a sign of a great restaurant. You know you're getting the freshest possible in the highest quality, so that's good to hear.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah. Okay, so you have your...
The chickpea puree and the cucumber puree as well. I'm just going to mix them together. It's not a big
Right.
process, not a big
Yeah.
step. All the flavors are already there. All the work is already done for the most part.
Okay. Now, when you puree your chickpeas,
Yes.
do you add... What do you add to that? Anything? Garlic, salt, pepper?
A little bit of fresh garlic,
Yeah.
extra virgin olive oil, fresh squeezed lemon juice, and just a drop of water as well. Helps in the
loosen it
process
up.
of pureeing. Yes, otherwise it may bind up in your machine and be a little bit difficult.
So Chef just gave you a tip. You know, it's not hard to puree if you have a food processor, but he just gave you a tip. Don't be afraid to add a little bit of water, all right? Do it depending on your quantity. Don't over add the water, so I suggest use a tablespoon, a teaspoon, and just add until you get to the right consistency.
Yes, sir. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to place this on top of our toasted pizza bread.
Right.
Not too much. It's almost like as if you're making a pizza.
Yeah.
You want to spread it evenly, and you want to leave a little bit of space right around the edge, just so whoever's enjoying it can grab it without getting their fingers too dirty.
Good.
And that's all right there. I'm just going to rest this behind us, Joe.
Now, Chef also gave you a tip on the pita bread, and I'm impressed you're making your own flatbread
Yes.
here. And again, you don't want that crunchy toasted because when you go to bite it, you're going to have it all over the front of you, I would
Exactly.
think. So, okay.
Well, next we have what I call a Demi Horrea salad. And a Horrea salad is a traditional Greek village salad, which is comprised of tomatoes, cucumbers, bell pepper, and in this case I've added Kalamata olive and pepperoncini as well.
Nice.
We
nice.
mix, yes.
Yeah, if I can just look at that. Now, this is a very, well, it's a fine dice. It's a
Yes.
small dice.
I think we call that somewhat of a brunoise, yes, Joe?
Yeah, yeah, which is...
A brunoise is a culinary term which describes a particular cut on a vegetable, a piece of meat, pretty much anything that you're cutting, and it's roughly 2 centimeters by 2 centimeters. It's a square piece.
Right. Very nice.
Yes.
Smell. I'm telling you that.
Thank you. Fresh
Yeah,
vegetables,
I want to
the
eat
olive oil.
some of this right now.
We use only Greek feta cheese as well, which is everybody knows is the world's best. Yes,
Oh, yeah.
fantastic.
Okay.
So we take our Horrea salad and we just place it atop
Yeah.
the pita bread, which already has our cucumber puree spread across. And then we just apply it liberally. We want to cover the puree for the most part. You don't want to go too heavy. I think this is just the right amount. That's perfect right there.
That's a great appetizer, isn't it?
Oh, I tell you what, it's cost efficient, it's time efficient as well. I mean, let's just say we had a working mother coming home looking to put something on the table for the family, maybe some soup and a sandwich and a nice appetizer.
Yeah.
You can get this on the table within 10 to 15 minutes from the time you start production.
Yeah,
It's
and you know, you
wonderful,
just
yes.
as you're talking, I'm thinking, you know, if you wanted the soup and salad, you could do that as a roll-up.
Yes.
I mean, I could. The
That would
aromas
go
are fabulous.
wonderful. Maybe with some grilled chicken.
Oh, yeah.
That would be fantastic,
Yeah.
Show, huh? Maybe some other time we'll do that.
Yeah, or if you take a night off, I'll come over to the house for dinner.
Love to have it.
Okay,
Fantastic.
great. That looks great.
Well, thank you.
All right, now, what is this? Is this
This
feta?
is some imported feta cheese as well, and
sweet.
there is no comparison between a nice imported Greek feta and the standard domestic feta, which is available. If you go to a specialty market, then they should be able to provide you
Yeah,
with
and
this.
even a lot
Yes.
of your supermarkets now have specialty cheese sections, so you can get it there. But, you know, Chef just gave you another great tip. If you want the real thing, and, you know, when you get into Mediterranean cooking, fresh.
Says it all.
And, you know, if you can get the imported products, it really makes a difference.
It does. It
Yeah.
does.
Okay.
So I'm just going to sprinkle this a little bit on the top. Have my clean glove on here. There we go. I'm just going to cut it into wedges. I like to cut about 6 pieces
Yeah.
per pita. Just it allows for a nice portion, and the consumer can pick it up
Right.
and they can enjoy it.
You know, I've been watching, there's a certain national pizza company, and they do a pretzel pizza. I don't know if you've seen it.
Pretzel pizza, that sounds wonderful. I'm familiar with the pretzel bun.
Yeah,
However, I have not encountered pretzel
to
pizza
me,
as of yet.
You know, I love your regular pizza.
Yes.
I don't mind pepperoni, mushrooms, but you know, they're doing some outrageous things with pizza. But this is a great pizza option. I love this. And you know, if you're having, say, friends, family over, and you're not going to serve dinner, this is a great appetizer type, or you know, a nice little tasting. So it'd be great to use. It's a great holiday item as well.
Thank you, Joe. It
Now,
is.
do you make this year round?
Yes, I do. I make the
This
dough
is
myself, as a matter of
absolutely
fact.
great.
Standard yeast dough, which we stretch on the grill.
Yeah.
I finish off in a convection oven. And as a matter of fact, we also make a very nice pizza, an actual pizza at the Putterham Grill.
Really?
I'll make you anything from a cheese or a pepperoni, maybe a sausage and caramelized onion, to sauteed portobello mushroom, baby spinach, crumbled goat cheese, maybe a little bit of white truffle as well.
Excellent.
Yes, yes.
That's I love a grilled pizza. I like that little bit of caramelization on the dough.
Yes.
And, you know, this is great. Well, why don't we I'll get you a plate. You
Very
plate
nice.
this, and we can set this and get on to the next dish. Does
Fantastic.
that sound
Sounds good, Joe. Sounds like a plan.
Okay.
Get the plate.
All right, here you go, Chef.
Wonderful. Here we go.
I got to tell you, folks, this smells like I want to jump in and start eating.
Thank you, Joe.
And I'm very sincere about that. Just the aromas of all these ingredients, and you can tell that it's fresh, it's imported. You know, just great.
And there we go, Joe. There's a nice Mediterranean pita ready to enjoy.
Excellent, very good. All right, so Chef, what is your next course?
Well, we have a roasted tomato bisque coming up
Ooh,
next, Joe. It's
nice.
a wonderful tomato soup.
You know, the Mediterranean cuisine is generally delicate but full of flavor. I just love it. I'm guessing you do a lamb shank?
Tremendous lamb shank.
Oh my God.
Stewed carrot, tomato cinnamon reduction. I serve that over a truffled risotto of portobello mushroom and caramelized onion. When I tell you the flavor is just fantastic, it comes right off the bone.
Can I
Melts
come
in your
home
mouth.
tonight?
Absolutely. Well,
I love lamb shank.
you have to speak to Gwen about that. It's my wonderful girlfriend. Maybe if
right.
she doesn't mind having you, Joe.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
of course.
Well, it was a platonic question.
Of course,
there wasn't
of course,
any, you know.
We have a
any
large couch.
inference in-
Large couch,
Okay,
yes.
fine. Yes. All right, Chef. Here's the second mise en place. Okay, I'm just going to clean up
Thank
the board
you,
a little
thank you,
bit.
thank
Why don't you talk about on this dish again? This is a tomato bisque.
Yes, it's a roasted tomato bisque, and if I may, I have a stock pot ready right back here for us.
Okay.
Yes, do we have a flame available to us, Joe?
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Okay.
So in the stock pot, we have a little bit of extra virgin olive oil
Yeah.
and some unsalted butter.
Yeah.
May I ask, Joe, in your practice, in your kitchen, do you use a salted or an unsalted butter?
You know what? You're talking to the preacher. Every show I bring this up. In a commercial bakery or a commercial professional kitchen, never salted butter, okay? Always unsalted. So I'm glad you brought that up because Chef here has a square piece of butter. So this was not from a quartered pound of butter, okay?
Yes.
The water content is much less, so you're getting more solids, more real butter. So I always recommend get the solid pounds of butter, okay? You're not gonna buy 50-pound block or 60-pound block, but don't be afraid to get the block. You're gonna have more real butter product. All right, Chef, sorry.
So, please don't be sorry. So to this butter and oil mixture, we're going to add some red onion or Bermuda onion. It can be sliced, it can be diced. It really doesn't matter because we're going to puree everything when all is said and done.
Yeah.
Now, you just want to cook the onion for the matter of about a minute or so. You just want to start the cooking process until it starts to soften and become slightly translucent. You don't really want to caramelize the onion at this stage because that's going to detract from any flavor which comes to the dish later on.
Yeah, and Chef just gave you another great tip. Do not caramelize. You know, that translucent look. You know, red onion is not a very gassy onion as opposed to a big white yellow onion, where you may want to cook that a little bit longer and cook off the gases and the acids and the stuff that makes you want to cry. So keep that in mind. You just want it translucent. Do not caramelize on this dish.
Yes, hopefully tears of joy will be the only thing coming from
As soon as
the
I
consumer's
eat,
eyes in
when
this.
we're done, I'll be happy.
Indeed. And so to the slightly cooked onion, we're going to add a brown sugar braised plum tomato.
Wow.
So I just take a plum tomato fillet with a little bit of tomato juice here,
Right.
to which I've already added a little bit of light brown sugar and some ground allspice. It just helps with the flavor. And when I bake these tomatoes in the oven, I use a sheet pan on which I place some aluminum foil. Just makes cleanup a little bit easier for you.
Okay.
And I roast that in the oven about, once again, 350 degrees, just until the tomato starts to caramelize slightly on top. Not too more. Then you want to set it off to the side.
I've used that technique myself, but if you want to make a home sun-dried tomato, you can bake these plum tomatoes at a very slow oven and they will dry down, but it will still have a nice texture to it, as opposed to the jarred ones where you can have to chew a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, I have a quick question.
Oh, please.
On these tomatoes, you blanch them first and then peel them, or are these canned?
I create a tomato concasse, so yes, as a matter of fact, I make an X-shaped incision on the bottom of the plum tomato, and then I put them in boiling water for about 60 seconds, Joe. Is that your practice?
Yeah.
Then we transfer them to a bowl of ice water, at which point the skin just naturally peels away, and it's just a wonderful process. It's fantastic.
Okay, and then you bake them on a sheet pan with brown sugar.
A little bit of brown sugar and olive oil, just a pinch of allspice as well. It's a nice
flavor.
Yes, a nice flavor.
Excellent.
Yes, indeed.
Wow.
So at this point, Joe, I'm going to add just a small amount of tomato paste. It just helps to build the tomato flavor for us right here.
Yeah. I love tomato.
Me too. It's actually a citrus fruit. A lot of folks don't know that the tomato is classified as a citrus fruit.
Is that right?
Plenty of vitamin C, yes.
Good.
And we stir it around, get everything mixed up. Now, at this point, I'm going to add some all-purpose white flour. Now, do you recall how we had the butter and the oil?
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you, are you familiar with a term called roux, Joe,
Sure.
by chance? Can you tell the folks what a roux is?
Yeah, a roux is a base for sauces, or it's a thickening agent. Generally, there are different levels. The longer you cook it, obviously, with the butter, it's going to get browner. But what you're really doing is cooking that flour taste out, but you're also giving it color. Now, if you let it go to a deep golden color, you're going to start getting a nutty flavor. So be careful, as to how long in this dish. I don't think you...
More of a pale blonde roux we're going for here. More of a pale blonde roux.
And that'll help when he finishes, it'll help as a thickening agent, okay? So roux is butter and flour.
Yes.
All right? There are other, you could use cornstarch, but it doesn't work as good as flour, I don't think, for a roux. But also you could use arrowroot, which is a little bit too expensive.
Nice. Very, very nice, though. I like the arrowroot.
Okay, great.
So now I'm just going to add our all-purpose white flour.
Yeah.
Not too much. We had about a half a cup of liquid in there, so I'm going to add about a half a cup of flour. As roux is equal parts fat and flour. I prefer butter, and I'm sure Joe does as well.
Yeah.
Just a nice flavor. And we're just going to stir it around to make somewhat of a paste with our tomato fillet, the tomato paste, the butter, the oil, and the flour.
Yeah.
Oh, doesn't that look nice? Wonderful, wonderful.
It smells
aroma.
even better
Thank you,
than
Joe.
looking nice.
Thank you very
And
much.
you can get a look at how this thickens right up.
It all
with
comes
this
together.
roux.
Now to this, I'm just going to add a simple vegetable stock.
Excellent.
Yes.
So this is a great vegetarian dish if you're using a vegetable stock. And
Yes, as a matter of fact, we have a variety of vegetarian and vegan options at the Putterham Grill.
oh, you
as a
do.
matter of
I'm
fact,
glad you
yes.
mentioned that, because I did want to ask you that earlier.
Just about 2 cups of the stock, or the vegetable stock,
Right.
will suffice.
Right. Now, if you're lactose intolerant, this is a good way to get a nice tomato soup without adding milk. So, to get that creamy type flavor. And the
Yes.
butter is certainly going to fortify and enrich the flavor.
Indeed.
Excellent. Okay, chef.
Now, as Joe said, if you are lactose intolerant or if you're just looking to steer clear of the dairy, you can leave it just like this. All you have to do is add the vegetable stock. And I like to simmer this for about 15 to 20 minutes just to let the flavors come together and combine.
Right.
At that point, I'm going to puree the soup. If we had a hand immersion blender right here, then we could utilize that, or just any type of a standard household kitchen blender will work as well. Anything that you like.
Right. I wish I brought my immersion blender. I have one that's good for home use.
Oh, really?
And it would do this job. Or, as you said, you could use a food processor type blender or whatever. But, you know, it almost looks like there was a cream or milk base in this with the color.
Yes.
And you're going to get plenty of flavor with those roasted tomatoes and the allspice and the brown sugar, the red onions. Can I come home?
Anytime. Gwen,
Thank
he's
you.
coming? Yes, he's coming, Gwen? Okay, wonderful.
Thank you, Gwen. So, Chef, I know that you have a finished product there, but we're going to let this simmer. What do you recommend?
I'd recommend roughly 15 to 20 minutes, Joe, just to let the flavors
Come together,
fully. Yes.
right. Now, on this particular soup, as I find, soups are always even better the next day.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself.
Right. So here, if you would love to have something, the cold months are coming up, you can make this, if you have some leisure time on Sunday, just store this in the refrigerator and eat it during the week, or take it
Why
to
not?
work with you.
If you want, you could even freeze it if you wanted to. Bring it out and thaw it for a day, and then you can reheat it, and it'll come out just fine.
Yeah. Well, that finished product looks great, Chef.
This is the finished product. Thank you very much, Joe.
Yeah.
I can't wait for you to try it.
I'll just take a little taste. Absolutely delicious.
Thank you, sir.
And the brown sugar and allspice really comes alive. That's a great option if you do have a dietary restriction with dairy.
Yes.
I mean, it's absolutely delicious. Great job, Chef.
Thank you very much, Joe.
Okay, so we're going to put that here.
Yes.
Okay, as part of our finished products. And what's next?
Well, next on the menu, we have a pan-seared sea scallop, which will be served over a tiger shrimp risotto with diced asparagus and sweet corn niblets. We're going to finish this dish with a creamed lobster fumet and just a touch of aged balsamic and white truffle oil. It's a wonderful dish. The flavors are just really well combined. They're built on top of each other.
I've been around quite a few professional chefs, and for the most part, it's not like you see in these crazy television shows where the head chef is ready to knock your block off with a 10-inch saute pan. And the point I want to make is, talking to Chef before this show, he's got a great personality. And, you know, it's really showing in the dishes that you're making.
Thank you, Joe.
And I'm sure you don't have time. Do you have an opportunity to go out and talk to your guests? Or?
As a matter of fact, whenever I see someone who I interact with and is a regular restaurant, such as we have with Alan here this evening. Afternoon, Alan, how are you? Thank you for coming. I love to interact with the guests, as a matter of fact, because that is the time when I really get to know what they enjoy, what they like. You know, for example, if somebody really doesn't care for truffle or somebody doesn't like cucumber, I'm going to omit that for a particular dish for the guests. Yes, we cater to all different tastes at the Putterham Grill.
Well, you don't mind special requests?
Not at all, no. I love them, as a matter of fact.
That's the type of restaurant I enjoy. And just because Michael is so engaging as a person, and I've met the partners of the restaurant, it's the kind of place where you like to go sit down and enjoy your meal. You're interacting, you can talk to the chef. If you don't like the plate, just don't hit him. But, you know, he's willing to work with you, which is really great. And I admire you for having, you know, a nice personality.
Thank you.
Okay.
And I can say the same about my business partners as well. Both Peter and George have provided us with a wonderful decor inside the restaurant. It's absolutely breathtaking when you step in. It's very nice. It's incredibly quaint.
Yeah, we're going to be there. We're going to shoot the interior. We're going to do the interview and let people see what a comfortable atmosphere it is. So it's great. I know I've been there, so I can appreciate that. All right, what are we doing next here, Chef?
Well, let's start with our risotto, please. So over here, this is a tiger shrimp risotto with a nice diced asparagus, and a sweet corn niblet. Now, when I make a risotto, I don't use the traditional method. I par-cook the arborio rice. Now, when I par-cook the arborio rice, I use the standard method. However, I only utilize roughly 50% of the water that you're going to use in the standard recipe. So that is to say, I start with a nice high-quality imported arborio rice. I coat it with extra virgin olive oil.
Good.
I place it in a large stock pot or rondeau, and then I have another large pot of boiling vegetable stock, which I slowly ladle into the arborio rice, and I stir the rice. Now, arborio rice is a rice with an incredibly high starch content that breaks down as you stir and slowly cook the rice. So I have my par-cooked arborio rice here, to which I've added poached tiger shrimp, diced asparagus, and sweet corn niblets. I also add just a little bit of unsalted butter, salt, and pepper. Now
It smells fabulous.
Thank you very much, Joe. Thank you. Yes.
You're not wearing a special underarm deodorant here, are you?
No, sir. No, sir. No.
Yeah.
No. The food is the only aphrodisiac involved
Oh,
today.
very good.
Yes,
Very
it's natural.
good.
Well,
Very
natural.
good.
So all I do is I simmer this over medium flame
Yeah.
until the rice cooks completely, and you have just a little bit of residual liquid. You don't want to completely reduction in the pan because that is going to dry out your risotto. You want it to be nice and moist and flavorful.
Okay, you were giving a tip.
Yes.
When you first prepare your rice, you only use half the liquid.
Half the liquid because I'm putting the other 50% in at this stage.
And you're finishing the rice here.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so Chef just gave you a great tip. And it's similar to cooking a pasta. You don't want that pasta al dente. What you want is just before al dente, and it's the same with this rice. You want to finish it at the time you're putting your whole dish together. So keep that in mind. And what does that do for you, particularly on the rice? You can make this a couple of days in advance and just keep it in your refrigerator.
Yes, yes. Once again, if you have a working parent coming home or just a working spouse coming home looking to make dinner for their significant other or their family, it just saves you a little bit of time and a few steps.
Right, right.
All right, so what I do is, like I said, I just simmer this here. I give it a few flips. This has about another minute.
Yeah.
And it won't be long.
Right. And this, I'm watching this, and you can see that it's absorbing this liquid, which is another great tip. He's using a vegetable stock. Myself, most of the time, I'll use a chicken stock. But our co-host is vegetarian, so if I know she's going to have some, I use the vegetable stock.
Excellent.
And what you're doing, you're adding more flavor into that rice.
Yes.
It's absorbing that flavor is what it's doing.
Yes. Now, I'd like to show you one thing here, Joe. This is going to show us that our dish is almost done.
Yeah.
The bubbles are becoming more pronounced,
Right.
and they're getting closer together. That's how you know that the dish is almost complete.
Almost done, right.
Now, at this point, I'm just going to take it off and rest it on the side. And the residual heat, which is in the saute pan, is going to finish the cooking process. The carryover heat is going to finish that for us.
Right. So Chef just gave you another great tip. You always have, even if you're doing a roast, a chicken, pork roast, whatever, rice, you're going to have that residual cooking, all right? So you don't have to kill the dish in the oven, on the stove. You want it to rest a few minutes, let all those flavors come together, and it's still cooking. So keep that in mind. You know, cooking is building flavors, one layer on top of each other. And this is part of the technique that Chef is giving to you. So you're giving us some great tips for the home viewer. So this has been a great show. All right, so
we're going to sear some scallops. I'll tell you, folks, when it comes to scallops, it's all about the quality of the product. There are two types of scallops on today's market. One is a dry scallop. The other one is referred to as a wet scallop. Now, in the industry, the fishing companies, what they'll do at times is they'll soak the scallop in a solution of trisodium phosphate and water. And what this does is it preserves the scallop and it plumps it up so they can sell you a little bit more. However, this is really not the product that you want. You want a true dry scallop because the flavor is going to be second to none, especially in comparison to a wet scallop. It's going to be sweet, it's going to be rich, it's going to be delicate, and when it comes to searing, it's also going to sear a lot better. Now, Now what we have here, Joe, is a 10-20 dry scallop. May I ask,
Nice.
can you tell me what the 10 to 20 refers to?
Yeah, that's the count, basically, how many to a pound.
How many per pound?
Right. Now, I want to make a point about what Chef just told you. And you've heard me talk about this a number of times in this show. And really, repetition makes a difference. And also, what's important here for me is you not only heard it from me, you've heard it from other chefs, and you're hearing it from Michael. A dry scallop is your first choice. Do not be afraid to speak up at the seafood counter and say, are these dry scallops? And if they're not, my suggestion, don't buy them.
You can always go someplace else.
Right,
Yes,
exactly.
absolutely.
All right, Chef, I'm dying to have some scallops.
All right, let's get to it then.
Yeah.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to season the scallops with just a little bit of kosher salt and freshly cracked black pepper. Season liberally, don't be afraid, just a little bit over the top. With the pepper and set them off to the side.
Right. Now, you've heard us talk about kosher salt, kosher or sea salt, whatever you prefer. I truly believe kosher salt has a much better flavor profile than the iodized table salt.
As do I, Joe. I'm a firm proponent of the,
Yeah, okay.
of the salt. Now, when it comes to searing a scallop, or pretty much any protein for that matter, the quality of your saute pan and the temperature at which the saute pan has reached before you add the protein comes to everything. At the Putterham Grill, we use a high quality 1810 gauge stainless steel, and that's just something which can conduct the heat evenly, and it's going to be able to hold the heat while you sear your scallop. Now, one way which I like to judge the temperature of the pan, besides hitting with my hand, of course, is just to pour the oil in.
Right.
And you want to watch the rate at which the oil moves around the pan.
Yeah.
Now, you see
Yeah, you're getting a little smoke there.
that this
Now-
this is moving at a good rate, at a good speed. It looks almost like water does, Joe.
Right.
That's how I know it's ready.
Now, are you using canola oil here, or what type of
I am
oil?
using a mix of vegetable, which is predominantly canola, and extra virgin olive oil as well.
Okay, right. Yeah, and again, you know, when you're going to do this type, you're looking to get a nice golden sear.
Yes.
The olive oil, which I love to cook with myself, but it has a much lower smoke point than a salad or canola oil.
Yes.
So we just recently saw this, the chef recommended, same thing you did, a mixture of olive oil and a salad canola oil. And what the point is, with that EVOO extra
Yes.
you're going to get more flavor.
Much richer flavor, yes,
Right.
full-bodied. So now it appears as though our pan is ready with the oil. I'm just going to go
Okay.
ahead and place
Yeah.
the scallops in, seasoned side down, Joe.
Yeah.
And you should hear a nice sizzle if I've done my job correctly.
Right.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So we're going to place it right along the edge of the pan.
Yeah.
You don't want there to be too much oil because, as I said, we're looking to sear,
Right.
not deep fry.
Yeah.
Now, the important thing when it comes to searing a scallop is once you are confident in the temperature of your pan or the temperature of your oil, just don't touch it. Just leave it alone until you're ready to flip it. You really only want to flip the scallop one time.
Right.
And when it comes to judging the degree to which the scallop has been cooked, I look for two things. I look for the bounce, which we'll be able to tell after we flip the scallop, and I also look for the texture or the grain of the scallop. It's almost like a piece of red meat or a piece of pork, where as the protein cooks, you can see the grain develop in the side of the scallop, and as that becomes more pronounced and more visible, that way we know that the scallop is done.
Right. And then you also can use the touch method. For instance, if you're cooking steak or a pizza, you know, I always say use the finger method.
Of course.
The finger to thumb. And by the time you get to the small finger in your thumb, that muscle is as hard as a rock. So you know, and I wouldn't recommend it for scallops. You don't want them cooked to fairly well. But that is another technique. So it smells great, Chef.
Thank you.
I have some tongs.
Oh, you have some tongs. Very nice.
Yeah. Okay.
Wonderful. I'll utilize the tongs. And may I ask, as far as the temperature is concerned, Joe, do you like to cook your scallops all the way through, or do you like to have them more on the medium rare, medium side?
I like medium rare.
Yes.
I feel that's the only way to eat.
Of course.
scallops.
Of course.
Because they become like rubber if they get too hard. Some people just want it dead. murdered. I don't believe in that. But,
Yes.
you know, everybody has different tastes. So, you know, don't be afraid to tell your server. How do you serve them generally?
I'm right there with you, Joe. I like them medium rare, medium. I don't like them rare. I don't like them raw, mind you, but I like a little bit of translucency.
Right, yeah.
In the beginning.
Yeah, I don't want it dried out. So.
No, certainly
But
not.
don't be afraid to speak up and tell your server, you know, I love scallops, but I want to feel like I'm chewing bubble gum.
Of course.
Cook
yeah.
them.
Yeah, no, so to each their own. Everybody's different.
Right.
Now it appears as though we've developed a nice crust on one side. I'm just going to start turning these scallops one at a time, Joe. Oh, look at that. Beautiful. Now, one thing I can tell you about searing fish, folks, or even roasting fish on a stainless steel aluminum pan, it's going to release from the pan when it's ready.
Yeah.
Don't try and force it. Don't try and rush it. When it's time for it to come off, it's going to come off fairly effortlessly, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah,
We have one,
and
we have two.
Chef-
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, Chef did something I want to point out. He got that pan smoking hot before he put his oil in there.
Yes.
Okay? And I think that's a critical point. That before you put that oil in, you want that pan to be hot. And that way there, you can follow the instructions Chef gave you. Watch how that oil moves in the pan.
Yes.
Then you'll know that that pan is ready.
Yes,
So
sir.
those are great tips he gave you.
And I'll tell you something else, folks. There's a world of difference between having a warm pan and hot oil and having a hot pan and hot oil. Because if the pan is only warm and it's not truly hot, then the oil is going to reach a certain temperature. But as soon as you put your product in the pan, you're going to lose that heat and you're not going to sear effectively. It's just not going to be as good.
Yeah, and then Chef Michael just also gave you another great tip. Don't be moving stuff around. If that pan is hot enough, and once he puts his oil in there, that comes to temperature. Meat, scallops, fish, it will release on its own.
Yes.
So otherwise, it's going to be sticking to the pan. You're going to be pulling it apart. So don't be afraid to, you know, allow the pan to cook your product.
Yes, sir. Now, once again, speaking in terms of residual heat, I've turned the flame off of our burner, and I'm just going to let the scallops sit in the pan for between 45 and 60 seconds until the cooking process is complete.
Excellent.
Now, as you see, Joe, we have a nice
Caramelization.
on the top, but we have that white ring around the middle of your scallop, which is really what you want, which is going to create a nice sear, but it's not going to overcook the inside of the scallop either.
Chef just gave you a great tip. I haven't heard anybody talk about this before. Look for that white ring, okay? And then you know that that product is cooked to perfection.
Yes. Thank you, Joe.
Excellent. Great tip, Chef.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Now, can we just take a fast look at your risotto?
Oh, most certainly.
Yeah.
You see how it's come together nicely? You have
Yeah.
almost a little bit of a gelatinous liquid there, Joe.
Excellent.
That's exactly what you're looking for.
Right.
Because underneath that gelatinous liquid, it's still rather loose. And when you stir it and bring it together right before you plate, it's going to be just perfect.
Great.
Wonderful. So I'm going to start with our risotto.
We have some nice spoons here if you want.
Oh, I like a nice spoon, Joe.
Right over there.
Wonderful. Put together, make sure it's well combined.
Yeah.
It looks just perfect. I can tell just by looking at it. I've done enough of this.
You know, yeah, and it is. And it really did finish absorbing pretty much all of that liquid, but enough to, you know, to give the consistency that you're looking for.
Yes.
Okay.
Grab our tongs once again over here.
Hot pan.
There we
You
go.
got
It's
a
just
towel?
we have asbestos hands here, Joe and I. We don't really feel the temperature now.
Well, no, Joe's a little delicate these
That's
days. He's not doing this kind of work. Yeah. But he has no problem with you with Teflon hands, believe
Of
me.
course. Behind you, Joe. Pardon me, sir.
Okay.
I'm going to put that right there. We're going to rest it.
Okay. Oh my God. I got to tell you, the aromas are fabulous.
Thank you, Joe.
I've been trying to find somebody that has a great technical, creative intellect. We need to create smell-o-vision. And how we do that, I don't know.
Someday with
Right.
technology these days, you never know. Now here I just have a little bit of a creamed lobster fumet,
Yeah.
which I'm going to drizzle over the top. Let me ask you, can you tell me do you know what a fumet is, Joe, by chance?
Yes, yeah. A fumet is used to enhance a stock. For instance, if you have, let's say, a quart of lobster stock, well, you may want to enhance that flavor, so you will take a half a quart and do a reduction. And when you do a reduction, it's building flavor, okay? And it helps that finished product so that you're getting the flavor that you're looking for. And fumet is a French term. I think the correct pronunciation, not that I speak French, is fumet, but it's spelled F-U-M-E-T.
Yes, sir.
But it really will add to your finished dish, because if it's a lobster, for instance, as Chef has made, you're going to get a great flavor of lobster in there.
Now, if I may, I'm just going to finish it with a touch of aged balsamic and white truffle oil as well.
Get the hook.
We have
this
it right
guy
over
is
here.
incredible.
Hooked and hooked. We have it right over here. So right now we just have a standard white truffle oil. I prefer the white truffle oil. I think it's a little bit deeper and richer in flavor, a little more effervescent.
Great.
Just a little bit, because it is rather pungent.
Yeah.
And I will say that you don't want to overdo it with the truffle, because once you add it, you just really can't go back.
Right.
And this is something which you make at the grill. This is a 10-hour aged balsamic reduction.
Wow.
I start with a high-quality aged balsamic, and then I cook it slowly over a double boiler for about 9 or 10 hours.
Wow.
And it just comes out wonderful. It has a tremendous flavor, and you see the body that it has as well.
Right. And what he's done is he's taken a lot of the liquid out of there so that you're getting almost a syrup consistency.
Exactly.
But again, it's like the fumet. It's a reduction, so that flavor profile is going to really enhance the dish. So don't be afraid to do a reduction, particularly with the balsamic. I mean, it's so pretty. It adds so much to the eating experience. So great job, Chef. Really great. Now, did you bring dessert?
Not today. Perhaps
Okay.
next time we'll do a nice chocolate espresso creme brulee or something.
Thank you. Very good. Very good. Well, we want to thank Putterham Grill and Chef Michael. And in closing, I want to thank the Sons of Italy Lodge in Roslindale. They've been very gracious in allowing us to shoot our show here. And we'd also like to thank Fornax Bakery, which is an artisan bread company, and they supply the bread as well for the show. So, in closing, again, Chef, this has been a great, instructional, informative, and engaging show, which is what we like. So, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me, Joe. It's been a
Okay,
pleasure.
good.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, I'm Kelsey. I do marketing communications for Craft Beer Cellar, and I'm also a certified cicerone. And the pairing today was a trio of Mediterranean dishes. So we had a homemade pita with some tomatoes and some fresh vegetables on it, a tomato bisque soup, and some pan-seared scallops. And looking at it, trying to find a beer that would match all three of those was going to be a bit of a challenge because we have a lot of different flavors. But I went with one that is a style that can hold its own against some pretty heavier dishes, but also is not going to overpower some light herbal flavors and some fresh vegetables. And so I went with a Czech style or Bohemian style pilsner. It is the Bohemians and the Czechs, they were the first to actually invent the pilsner. It's named after the town in the Czech Republic called Plsen, and it was first brewed in 1842 and has not looked back since. It is now the most commonly brewed style of beer in the world. And this one in particular is brewed by Notch. They're out of Salem, Massachusetts. And this brewer really likes to focus on what we call session beers. They're flavorful, low alcohol beers. And this one, in fact, is 4% 4.0%, so it's fairly low in alcohol, but still has a lot of flavor to it. And Pilsner is going to have a little bit of biscuity, white flour, bread flour flavors from the malt, and a noticeable kind of hop, herbal, lemon flavor from the noble hops. And those flavors, the biscuitiness, the kind of little bready malt flavors is going to go really nice with the pita. The slightly herbal lemon notes from the hops are going to go really nice with those fresh vegetables, really enhance the flavors of them, and without overpowering them, because that's we want to keep those intensities in check. And for the risotto, it's going to be a really nice pairing. It's going to the scallops in the risotto can sometimes get a little bit of richness to it, and this is going to really help cleanse the palate, keep the richness from overpowering the mouth, and just be a wonderful beer to enjoy with a meal. I'm Kelsey Roth with Craft Beer Cellar, proud supporter of the Chef's Table Foundation.
Hi, welcome to the corn segment at Verrill Farm. Today, again, we're here with the farmer's farmer, Steve Verrill, for this farm-to-table segment. Okay, so what do we have here?
Well, we have some Absolute and one of our Mirai varieties.
Say that again?
Mirai.
Mirai.
Yeah, that's a newer innovation from hybridizing. It's got more of the sugary genes in it, so it's a little sweeter corn. It has a little darker yellow kernel usually a little tougher kernel, but some of these varieties we have don't.
Right.
And this is Absolute, not the one out of the bottle, but
Yeah.
it's a very, very nice corn.
Right. That was a joke, by the way.
We can see that each strand of silk is connected to a separate kernel of corn.
Wow.
And that's how each kernel gets pollinated. And if in fact the kernel didn't get pollinated, it won't develop. And that's, you might see that occasionally. It'll look like there's just a kernel missing on the ear of corn.
Right.
And that's when that strand didn't get pollinated.
So that has a purpose to really develop the ear of corn.
Well as get the genetics for, that's how you'd hybridize or fertilize, either one.
Wow.
And I don't know how successful I'm going to be here, but I think it looks good so far.
Yeah. I was wondering why. Usually I'm just
Yeah,
grabbing.
yank it right off.
Yes. But you're going to give us a lesson. Wow. Look
Now,
at that.
I don't know how that's going to show up, but you can experiment with some at home. They break off quite easily.
Yeah.
And if you notice, they're off the bottom of the ear already, but
Yeah.
not off the upper part.
Right.
And that's the way the ear matures. It's kind of interesting. We eat a lot of corn in the field when we're sampling different blocks to see which one to pick next and how soon it has to be picked or whether it's ready. And the sweetness actually starts at the base of the ear, and over a day or two works its way to the tip.
Uh-huh.
And as soon as it gets to the tip, the next day it'll start to leave the base. So there's just that narrow time there where you got the flavor on the whole ear. But I think you can see pretty well maybe that each kernel has a strand of silk attached to it.
Wow. That's very interesting.
And corn's unusual that way because the pollinization, or the genes in the pollen, affect the appearance and the flavor of this kernel of corn, not just the plant that's going to grow if you were to plant this kernel.
Mm-hmm.
And that means that when we grow different varieties, they have to be isolated from one another so they won't cross-pollinate.
Really?
If you were to plant a nice-tasting white corn next to a nice-tasting yellow corn, and they had the same number of maturity days, the ears would be yellow and white. But they wouldn't necessarily they wouldn't be good-tasting ears necessarily, because it wouldn't be a hybrid that had been developed from specific parents.
Now, when you're tasting out in the field, are you tasting at the top or the bottom?
Both. We do both ends.
Both ends. And I notice you're not very good at sharing, so I'm going to rely on
You notice that, huh?
Yeah. Now, this one is called Me Rye.
Right.
Well, you told a great joke about this particular one. It's called Absolute.
Right.
And you said it's not doesn't come out of a bottle, right?
Right.
So I wanted to have a rebuttal. Me Rye corn, me like corn.
Oh,
How was that? Weak?
corny.
Okay, folks. All right, Steve. So I noticed you peeled some corn here. What are we going to show here?
Well, these are all ears of me rye picked out of the same block, the same time. And there's quite a difference in maturity as you go from one side to the other. When the fellows are picking corn, they just by feeling the tip of the ear and how full it is, right in there is this decision whether to pick it or not pick it.
Oh.
And they get it right pretty much 100% of the time, but this one right here is just a little bit too young. And that's why I don't mind at all if people open the corn and take a look at it before they buy it to make sure it's the way they like it, because on these other two, this is the way I like it.
Yeah.
But my wife likes it like this a little bit, more mature, a little heavier ear. And that's fine. We have something for everybody.
Right.
But these are a little sweeter. These kernels are a little bit harder. They look glossier, I think, than the other ear
Right.
did.
Yeah, they do.
And that's the nature of that.
So this is still sweet.
Right.
This is more mature. So it's losing its sweetness at the bottom.
Probably so. You want to check them and see?
Sure. I didn't think you were going to ask. Okay, so. I got to tell you, that is like sugar.
Might be the same both ends. Won't be for long.
For some reason, it tastes sweeter at the bottom on the mature.
Well, these varieties are the sweetest when they're more mature than the Absolute is.
I
No?
mean, it's so flavorful and really full flavored that.
Doesn't need cooking.
Right. Well, I want to say, Steve, that just eating these corn niblets raw, they don't need anything. Don't need salt, pepper, butter, and truthfully, it's what I've been used to. You cook the corn,
Yeah.
but you don't have to.
Well, another thing, if you get a bunch of corn, take it home and decide you cooked a few more than you want to eat, or if you don't think you're going to cook them all, it's good to cook it all right when it's fresh. And then any you don't eat that night, just take a knife and cut the kernels off and put them in a plastic bag or a
Right.
Tupperware container and stick it in the freezer. And that you'll be surprised how much better that tastes than any commercially frozen corn you buy.
Really?
Really is good.
Wow. And that's another great tip. So if you buy too many ears of corn, or you're having a cookout and you wind up with 10 ears of corn, cut those kernels off,
Right.
put it in a Ziploc and freeze it, and you're going to have
Can
flash
put it in
frozen.
a dish or yeah.
Excellent.
Chowder, anything you want to do with it.
Right. Well, on behalf of the Chef's Table Foundation, we're really pleased to have the support of Mr. Steve Verrill from Verrill Farm and doing this Farm to Table segment. And we want to thank you. And this has been really a very informative segment.
Oh, you're very welcome. It's been fun.
Thank you. Excellent. Dice. It's
Yeah.
a small dice.
I think we call that somewhat of a brunoise, yes, Joe?
Yeah, yeah. Which is
A brunoise is a culinary term which describes a particular cut on a vegetable, a piece of meat, pretty much anything that you're cutting, and it's roughly 2 centimeters by 2 centimeters. It's a square piece.
right. Very nice.
Yes.
It smell, I'm telling you.
Thank you. Fresh
Yeah,
vegetables,
I want
the
to eat
olive oil.
some of this right now.
We use only Greek feta cheese as well, which is everybody knows is the world's best.
Best.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
fantastic.
Okay.
So we take our Horrea salad and we just place it atop
Yeah.
the pita bread, which already has our cucumber puree spread across. And then we just apply it liberally. We want to cover